we have someone as a guest speaker, we always read their accolades just so you get to know them a little bit and just like what they did. And Deirdre is kind of a rock star, so put your little seatbelts on, it's gonna be fun. Okay, so Deirdre is from Braintree, Massachusetts. She started her Mary Kay business in November of 1999, and debuted as a sales director 18 months later. So that's really fun. She was runner-up to the Queen of Personal Sales in 2012. That's a big deal. She sold $100,000 in Mary Kay. That's $100,000. That's also very cool. She's been a member of the Queen's Court of Sales 16 times, Queen's Court of Sharing 9 times, 12 gold medals, a double star, which is like either, the 3 courts. She did 2 out of 3, and triple star is all 3. So she's got her necklace on. And she's done triple star 7 times. She's earned 14 Mary Kay cars, including 6 Cadillacs. She has been in 13 unit circles, so that's unit sales. Her highest being, this is like super cool. They did 900,000. Woo! In 2021, and she earned 4 top director trips, including 1 extended trip. This is like a super cool accolade. She has won 2 of the national makeover contests that Mary Kay has run. Isn't that kind of awesome? Which earned her and her husband 2 all-expense-paid weekends, 1 to the Academy of Country Music Awards, and another to Santa Monica to be photographed for the 2020 marketing campaign. So apparently you have all the secrets for winning these things. And you don't have to tell us, but
I'll tell you.
Okay. Deirdre's unit has been the number one unit in the state of Massachusetts since 2017. Most importantly, she has been married for 25 years to her husband, Chase. Has a lovely 20-year-old daughter that she brought. That's the one you had on the trip, right? Yeah. And then 18-year-old twins, Leo and Lucky. And I love Deirdre. So we met in Scotland.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but then like she was asking me some questions over Voxer, and then I was like so excited to see her in Spain, and it was just neat that she brought her daughter. And I remember I feel like we were always at the warm tub. It was not hot, so we called it a warm tub.
It was the warm tub.
Yeah.
A little warm tub.
And what I tell people that I love so much about you, Deirdre, is just you're a real person and you're never too cool for a conversation with anyone. And I just absolutely love that. And I've got to tell you, I've been so proud of your little Christmas card with the Barbie stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh, check out this cool chick. Like she just is like, how fun is this Christmas card? And then she showed me some of her other Christmas cards and I was like, oh yeah, we're friends. Like that wasn't even hard. So Deirdre, we so appreciate your time tonight. I know there's a lot of women just like on this call that want to move into directorship and are just hungry to hear from all different people in the company and just kind of hear, and me too. I mean, I know things about you, but I don't know things about you. So this is gonna be really good. So take it away, friend. Thanks for being on tonight.
Oh, no problem. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here and have a chance to chat with you guys because I have to tell you, like, I kind of have a girl crush on Emily. Like, it was so fun getting to know her over the 2 trips, but definitely more in Spain than in Scotland. And I'm just so excited with all that your units accomplished. I'm so impressed with all of you, and I'm just delighted to chat with you guys. So Emily read my accolades. So I joined in 99. I joined as a personal use consultant, and I was for real going to be personal use. I said to my recruiter, Sylvia, little old ladies from upstate New York, I was living there briefly before I moved back to Boston. I said, I'm not going to your meetings, and I'm not buying inventory, and I'm never recruiting anyone. So that was my promise to her. And I'm sure she was like, oh, I got me a winner. But then she said, okay, well, if you're ever free on a Monday night, we're there every week. And I was like, wait, Mondays? Because I was a newlywed and my husband watched professional wrestling. Now, if you know anything about professional wrestling, you know that it's on Monday nights. And we lived in a tiny little condo in Albany, and it was like essentially all one room. And so he would put it on. It went from 7 to 11. Because there were like multiple shows. When one was over, the next fresh hell would start. And I was like, I could get out of the house for 2 hours on a Monday, and I started going every week. And that was my dog pal. That's how I went from a strong personal use consultant to somebody who wanted more. And so I would go every week. And then I was like, well, maybe I'll get a little bit of inventory. And then I only went to seminar because my sales director was tall. Her name's Maureen Meyer. She's retired now. But at that time, and remember this a long time ago, I was afraid of tall people. Well, I was terrified of tall people because I just was like, oh my God, they're just so tall. And so she asked me in front of everyone if I was going to seminar. And I said yes, because I wasn't going to tell that tall lady I wasn't going in front of everybody. So I'm no longer afraid of tall people, just so you know. But that was a thing. So I went to seminar and then I got the dream. You know what I mean? Like if you've ever been to seminar, if you've gone to a major event and you're like, wait, could this be me? Like, could this be something I could really do? Because it can be really hard. Either if you're new or if you've been in Mary Kay a long time, you're really dissatisfied with where you are to relate to people that are at the top and that are on the stage. But there was something that I thought, oh, I should go for this. And so I got back, lost some of the excitement. I did like eventually fall into my red jacket. And then I fell out of my red jacket as it happens. But I was an adoptee by then. I'd moved back to Boston, so they couldn't see my reports. So they all thought I was still a red jacket, and I continued to wear my red jacket despite the fact that I had 2 active people at a time. So I wound up deciding I was sick of that. And after being in Mary Kay about 15 months, I went from 2 people at the start of the month to 8. That was the thing back then. And 3 months later, I was a director. And the reason that I did that was because I was so like intrigued with the idea that I could potentially have kids, because now we're like, some point I'm going to want to have kids, and that I could have a flexible schedule. Because I was a college administrator, I had my master's degree, I had 8 years left on my college loans and for my master's. So like I'd sunk a lot of money into this. And then I'm like, what am I going to do if I have a baby? You know, there were no work from home positions. There was none of that. So I said, you know what? I'll do all those stupid challenges they tell us to do every week at the meeting, and I'll win like the paperclip or whatever the prize. I was a little negative back then, truth be told. So I have a better attitude now. And like I said, I'm not afraid of tall people anymore. So we can grow in this company and it will help set us up for success. So if you're feeling like maybe there are certain things where you don't fit in, we grow. We grow in this company. And then that's what I did. I became a director, and then I stayed with my job for another year just in case. I'm like, what if it doesn't stick? But it stuck. And then I had a baby, and that's the baby that Emily met on the trip, my daughter Sidra. And that was great. And then I got a Cadillac, and then I was pregnant again almost instantly. And then I found out it was twins. And as soon as I found that out, my husband lost his job. Actually, I think that order was reversed. I think he was told he was being laid off right before we found out they were twins. So he says, you know what, this is great. You quit your career, you change your career. I want to change my career. I want to be a teacher, which was really kind of cool and inspiring. But that meant that while he was in graduate school and I was on bed rest almost that entire pregnancy, we went for 15 months with no income other than my Mary Kay director. Now, I still was making good money as a Mary Kay director, but I was making less since I was on bed rest and not holding meetings and not holding parties and I couldn't even talk to my unit members because these monsters inside me, they were so big. They were 7'6" and 6'12". It was grotesque. But, you know, they came out all baked and everything, which was great. Like, I couldn't even talk to my unit. I couldn't even coach people because I had no breath. So my Mary Kay check came every month and that covered my mortgage, and that was about it. But it's great because I don't know who else can not work for that long and still make enough from their company to pay their mortgage. Like, that's a big deal. But there were a lot of other bills that didn't include that. And by the time he went back to school and I went back to like being more active with Mary Kay, we had $43,000 in credit card debt. So I went to leadership and they said, this was leadership 2006. And the big thing, Emily, you remember this, they were like, we're going to do 100 faces in 100 days. That's what they talked about. And it was like so novel, but it wasn't really novel because do the math. Have you ever heard of a power start? Yeah, I think you've heard of it. So that's 3 in a row, right? But I was like, 100 faces in 100 days. This is brilliant. Who could have come up with this strategy? So some film and deal, 100 faces, 100 days. And that was pretty much turned everything around. It's like we paid over 18 months, I paid off all $43,000 worth of credit card debt, did quarter sharing the first time. 6 months later, I was in a Cadillac again. And so things are going great. And I was like the keynote speaker for like everything because people heard the story. She had $43,000 worth of debt and 3 babies under the age of 2. What a Mary Kay success story. Well, what they didn't know was that my daughter got sick a little while later, not Sidra, the one that Emily knows, my younger daughter, Lucky. I shouldn't say she got sick. She has a disease called Ehlers-Danlos, and we just didn't know until she was 5. I guess she was born with it, but it's this terrible disease. I won't get into it. It's just when all the collagen in your body is too soft. So all your body parts made of collagen fail young. And everything's made of collagen except bones. So we went in because her ankles hurt, and I was like, how are we going to fix her ankles? And they're like, no, it's starting in her ankles. And that is the story of Ehlers-Danlos, and it's terrible. So next thing you know, we're doing treatments, we're doing all this, and nothing's working. I'm going into all this debt again because I'm paying for all this stuff that isn't working. Plus, it was a dark time. If you've ever dealt with a difficult medical situation, it's expensive. It's really expensive to be sick. And then we were back up to $36,000 in credit card debt. And the worst part about the debt, it wasn't even the debt. It was that I was still getting asked to speak at trainings. They'd be like, you just paid off all your credit card debt. Will you speak on Saturday? And I'm like, oh my God, nobody knows. So I did it again. This time I said, I'm gonna do my 100 faces in 100 days. Got me all the momentum. It helped me compartmentalize. And that's the year that I wound up taking off, and I wound up being runner-up to the queen. I was only runner-up to the queen because I wanted to I want to be the queen, just so you know, in case you're wondering, wow, who sets that goal? Not me. I wanted to be the queen. And I wanted to start a prayer chain with my speech. That didn't work out, but there are plenty of Mary Kay people to this day praying for my daughter, Lucky. But that's what I focused on. That was excitement. And in the course of selling that $100,000, I paid off all the credit cards again. And we got ourselves back. The unit was going again. I was going again. And that was a real gift from Mary Kay because it was a dark year in my house. And this was something my kids were excited about. They wanted to go to Dallas. They wanted to wear dresses on stage. They didn't get that part of it. And that's too bad. Boo-hoo. But you know what? The year of excitement and asking me, how did I do? And if I was going to have another party, it helped us a lot, even though the payoff wasn't there at seminar. Although I don't have it on me, but the runner-up ring was gorgeous and I wear it all the time. So anyway, the runner-up jewelry was spectacular that year. So anyway, what I figured was that if I really want to make money in this business, you need to focus on the two things that they really talk about doing: selling product and offering the opportunity. So that's really when I started going for triple star. I didn't always make it. Sometimes I did double star, but there was a time before that where I thought that you couldn't really figure out how much you were going to sell because you were dependent on other people. And you couldn't really figure out how many people that you could sponsor into this company because you were dependent on them to say yes. And as soon as I realized that was completely wrong and that I was entirely in control of how many people I asked. So it's a choice. You can do quarter of sales if you choose to. I can do quarter of sharing if I choose to, or I can choose to watch Law and Order. Those are my choices, and that there's no luck involved. You know what I mean? Like, it is lucky sometimes you have an appointment, it's $1,000 party, and then the next party's like a $100 party or a zero party. Like, I guess you could call that luck, but it's not really luck. That's just averages. And it was very empowering when I realized from doing a lot of faces back to back multiple times that eventually the numbers all balance out, no matter what. So that made me feel a lot better about saying, you know what, so if I hustle, I'm guaranteed to make more money. And then that changed a lot about my entire work ethic. You know, that changed a lot about my belief in myself and my belief in the company. And I think that's one of the biggest lessons for me. And I hope that you guys, if you haven't figured that out yet, it took me a long time to figure that out. I'm the kind of person that needs to learn the same lessons 5, 6, 7 times before they stick. I don't know if anyone can relate to that, but that made me realize you can hustle, you can go ahead, you can make things happen. Now I got to tell you, my husband that was a teacher, then he became an assistant principal, got his license, became a principal. By the way, principal is the worst job in the world. If you're thinking about going into that line of work, think again. It's like the worst job in the world. But even though he makes more money as a principal, and he got beat up by a 5-year-old on Friday. The kid hit him with the side of his lunchbox, and he had a frozen juice box in there. He came back home with from a kindergartner. It's a terrible job, but he didn't get paid extra for that black guy, right? If he were to be like, oh, I have to be on the phone all night with angry parents, he doesn't get paid extra for that. He has no ability to make extra money. But with Mary Kay, I have that. And there is such freedom in the ability to solve problems with money. Like I will tell you right now, my daughter Lucky and my son Leo, all three of my kids are in college right now. But Lucky is one of the only Ehlers-Danlos kids in our group. She's the only Ehlers-Danlos kid in our group that made it to college. And I think a lot of it has to do with money. And I think that sounds terrible to say, but she always got the best physical therapy. She always got every treatment, even if it didn't work. She got the surgery. She got everything that she needed. And we had friends that couldn't afford that. We would do fundraisers for them and all this stuff. And so I really believe that my daughter's in college now because of Mary Kay. And if you've ever dealt with a long-term illness, you know that people's outcome is better when they have lots of access to cash because it's not fair in this country. I do want to tell you, I did take Sidra on the trip because my husband had just started a new principal job this year. So he came to Scotland with me last year. Then this year, he couldn't come to Spain because he wasn't going to go to a superintendent and be like, can I have the first week of school off? That would have been tacky. So it was so fun to bring Sidra. Like I miss bringing Chase, but I just thought Sidra's going, she's going to be a senior in college next year. Like, I don't know when she and I have 3 kids. Like, I don't take one of them on vacation. That's not a thing, you know? And she's got a boyfriend she's been together with for 5.5 years. And I have a husband. So I can't think of another easy scenario where she and I would have a week on vacation. And it was such a special opportunity. And I just loved it so much. So I want you to think about that. If you're sitting here and you're thinking like, would I want to be a director? Like, I think looking at Emily and being like, do you think you might want her life? You know what? I'll tell you this, you would, because who doesn't want that flexibility? Who doesn't want the opportunity to, in terms of hours, in terms of finances? Like I'm going out for breakfast tomorrow and that's work because it's with one of my consultants. Like how my husband, you know, who has a job where they can just go out to breakfast with someone and that's like part of your job. Of course, I'm really excited about going to this place. They have these acai bowls. That's beside the point. It's not important. But all I'm saying is Mary Kay work is way more fun than the average job, in my opinion. And so what I would advise anyone to do, if you're at all interested, is hustle to get yourself to Fort Worth. Because that is where you get to see like the inner circle of everything that's happening and what it's really like to be a director. Like you want to know if you might want to be a director, go to Dallas with all the other directors and DIQs. It is an amazing opportunity just to see what it's like. It's wonderful. I also do want to tell you, you know, a lot of times I've had people ask about the trips. I know you've heard about Emily's trips. And I think sometimes when you're a consultant, that's really hard to relate to because it's hard to picture when you're like trying to get into your red jacket or trying to get into DIQ and you're just at a different place in your business to be like, and someday I'll be on a top director trip. So maybe you can visualize it. Maybe you already see it happening. I was never like that. I could always only look one step ahead. Maybe you're really good at that visualization thing. But if you're not, what I want to know is if you can't picture a top director trip for yourself, could you picture earning enough money from your Mary Kay business to take your family on vacation? Like, is that something that you can visualize? So we always got to think about the steps along the way. If it's hard to get yourself there, it's like, what's next? I always tell my unit, Mary Kay is like the game of life. Like you spin the wheel and you go one to 6, right? Sometimes you spin a 1, sometimes you spin a 6, but you're always moving forward, right? And that's how it is with our Mary Kay business with everything that we're doing. And I'm going to tell you really quick how you can win the next makeover challenge, okay? Because first of all, 95% of consultants do not enter. Did you know that? That's an actual stat I've asked. So if you put one entry into any of the makeover contests, you've just beat out 95% of the consultants in the United States. Why don't people enter? Because they're like, I could never win. And so they don't enter at all. So that's the first thing. You're not competing with the entire company. You're competing with 5% of the consultants that are going to be bothered to enter. So that's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is that whatever the requirements are all things that are going to build your business anyway. So there are some people that don't go for the contest because they think, well, I could never win. But it's like, okay, so what if you held 100 faces? in 100 days or however long the contest period is, what would that prize be? Like when I won the trip to the Country Music Awards, the prize was the trip to the Country Music Awards, $2,500 for my favorite charity. It was how many faces could you do in a month? It was February. So I live in Braintree. Braintree's Boston. It's the first suburb south of Boston. I did 183 makeovers that month. Now, that month, my town got 150 inches of snow. So picture that. You guys get snow, right? So, but can you picture 150 inches of snow? How many feet of snow that is? It's a lot of snow. So the whole time I was terrified. I'm thinking some Southerner or some Californian are going to win this because they're not getting any snow. So it made me ferocious. And I got to tell you, those 183 facials were probably some of the worst makeovers you've ever seen. I was doing bulk makeovers on strangers against their will, but I won the contest and I got so many leads from it. And I made more that month from selling product because of those faces than even got that giant donation to charity. So that's another big thing. So my advice to you is to sell it hard with your customers. With both of those contests, I went to my customers and I said, I'm going to win this and I know I can do it and I need your help. And then I followed through, but it was kind of scary to say that to them because then if I didn't win, what do you do? But you know what? If you don't win, it doesn't matter because they don't remember that. They only remember when you win. So I strongly recommend going for that because those are great booking, great selling, great everything. And if you win, oh my gosh, you're going to love it so much. Now, I think I'm at my time, but I have more goodies if you have any questions or you want to know anything at all. And I'm sorry I talk so fast.
Oh
It's
gosh,
Boston.
Deirdre, we got time. You're good. And yes, most of us are actually, we have quite a few people from Syracuse.
Oh, cool.
And then Minneapolis. Yeah, Anna is my offspring that started in Minnesota and moved to Syracuse like this last year. So that's kind of cool. So like East Coast people.
All over.
No, we definitely have time for more, but I want to ask because I think we get in such a mode of like so many faces a month or whatever, but sometimes it's like we think, oh, if I hit 30, that's going to get me there. But sometimes we don't actually think, is that actually going to hit my goal? So what's like an average amount of faces that you see in a month?
Okay, so it depends. It varies for me on the month. But my goal is always 30. I make it about half the time because I do a lot of events with my unit. And so a lot of times my faces aren't always my faces. So, I might do a guest event on Zoom and we have 11 people there, but only 2 of them are mine and 9 of them are my unit. So it gets a little bit convoluted, but I want to be in front of at least 30 guests per month. And I want as many as possible for them to be my own. But up until I got a really large unit, I held 6 parties a month for years and years, probably 10 years in a row. I held 6 parties a month because that's what worked for me with my kids. So I didn't feel like it was basically 1 a week plus 2 extras somewhere. I wasn't out 3-4 nights a week. I don't think you need to be. I think you need to work smart. You need to have really, really good follow-up, and you need to interview everyone that you meet with. And so that's about what I did. The time I did, like, I never averaged much more than that, other than the year that I did the runner-up to the Queen.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
But I was consistent. I never held no faces. I never let a week go by without a party, so I think that's the hardest thing, when you go, and then you don't do anything. And then you go, and then you don't do anything.
Yeah. I see a question. Okay, so just for the unit, if you guys have questions, you'll be able to unmute. You can ask Deirdre, but April's asked one in the chat that I think is good. Like, one of the things we're working on as a team is just being better at follow-up. And not me doing it, but like, each individual person doing their follow-up. So she said, will you give an example of a follow-up call, or maybe just like what you do? Because I think as directors, we throw around like, oh yeah, you just got to follow up, but we don't really say what that means. So
Right.
what does that mean to you, Deirdre?
Okay, so it's kind of a few steps. So I want to kind of close the circle on all the things we're supposed to do. So I have a party, let's say, or I have a facial, and I close that sale at the time. I try to get a booking. I maybe get a booking, I maybe don't. If I do, then part of that follow-up is the coaching and making all that happen so that the party goes really, really well. If she's not going to book, I try to get a promise for the future. And so a lot of times people are like, oh my gosh, I can't, things are so busy. Then and I can tell she's a no. Like, oh, well, we could just schedule something. Oh, I wish I could, but I can't. Then I'll just say, okay, you know what? You want me to call you like in a couple months? And they'll say yes. They always say yes because that's far away, right? And so then that's not ideal. I want a booking now. But then the way I keep track of it, because it's easiest for me, is I just have like an Outlook calendar, like a Google calendar, and I'll just bump out 2 months and be like, follow up with Carly about a party. And I'll put that as like a to-do item for that day on my Google Calendar. So a lot of times I'm calling people that I just got together with, but most people I'm able to push out, and I'm able to eventually book a lot of those people. So that's one thing for bookings. The other thing is that I'm really good. I'm not good about the 2-day follow-up. You know, they say 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months. I never make that 2-day thing, but I always make 2 weeks and I always make 2 months. And I do it all by text. So I will just text her 2 weeks after she buys something and just say, hey, just wanted to check in and see how you're doing with your products. Did you like the microderm? Let me know if the makeup worked out. And because I want them, if they don't like anything, to return it then, or to ask me then before they give it to their sister and then stop buying from me because that moisturizer was too dry. So, and the way I do that again is I put it in my calendar for 2 weeks out. I used to write like follow up from Jennifer's party, but then 2 weeks later I'd be like, we came to Jennifer's party again, and I have to go back. So I write their names right then and there. And then for team building, if it's a facial, she's already been interviewed. So, you know, if I'm meeting with someone one-on-one and we're chit-chatting and I'm like, okay, go ahead and put that on. So what do you do? Okay, now I'm going to have you wipe that off. Oh, do you like it? Oh, that's good. No, who do you live with? You know, and I go through and I'll say, have you ever considered doing something like this? And if she's biting at all, that interview is happening during the appointment every time, unless she's a jerk. You know what I mean? That happens. Sometimes you meet with someone, you're like, oh no, I'm not asking her. She's the worst. Like once I had this party and there were these 4 girls and they were all like mid-20 somethings and they were so sharp and they were so cute and they loved me and they were like, they loved Mary Kay and they all bought roll-up bags. That's when roll-up bags were $1.99. I had never sold 4 roll-up bags at one party in my life. And I was so happy. And I'm in the other room and I'm filling the roll-up bags. I'm like a god filling these roll-up bags. And I'm so happy. And then one of them says, I hate to say this because she's so nice, but did you see what Kristen was wearing today? And the other one's like, oh my God, I know, I hate to say it because she's so nice. And they start bashing this girl's outfit. But before they said it, they kept saying how nice she was. Now, if Kristen was mean and they were like, she's the meanest and she's ugly, I probably wouldn't have been as offended. But apparently this girl was so nice and they spend the next 15 minutes trashing this girl's ugly outfit, and I didn't interview any of them because you know whose outfit they'd be trashing next? Me. It would be my outfit. So there are times I don't. But other than that, I try to follow up with everyone in terms of asking them about Mary Kay. And that's how I get the beat pretty much every year.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's good. I love your stories. You're hilarious. Okay, so who else wants to unmute and either ask Deirdre a question or just affirm something that, you know, spoke to you from what she talked about? Just go ahead and unmute.
Well, I'll just say thanks for being on here and sharing this because
Anna, where'd you? Oh,
here we go. Okay, so thanks for being here. But I really appreciate that you're just brought up like it really is about the hustle. And even though we really talk about the perfect contest and having perfect sixes and perfect tens, I sometimes still feel like, am I doing enough? And so just the reminder, like just keep doing it and it all adds up if you are consistently doing those things.
Right. Yeah, that's what always, just keep doing it over and over again. And then you'll know if you're doing enough based on how much you're making. You know, because if you feel good about how much you're making, then maybe you're doing enough. But if you're not, gotta raise the bar.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one thing we've been working really hard with my unit right now is getting booked up the first 2 weeks in January. And where we've traditionally got kind of waylaid with this is that when you try and book in December, a lot of times people are like, call me after the holidays. Like I can't even think about it now. Call me after the holidays. And so we changed our script for that because I can't think about that. So right now. And I'll say, you know what? And my whole unit does this. And we say, well, you could think about it for 2 minutes. Why don't we just think about it for 2 minutes and we'll book a date in January? I don't even know what it'll be. We could just think about it for 2 minutes and then you can forget about it. And then I'll call you after the holidays. And they're like, okay. I'm like, let's just look. How about December 8th, January 8th? And so that's the joke that we've been doing. You could think about it for 2 minutes because that's the excuse they always give. I kind of think about that now. So, and that's a good way because otherwise, if you call them after the holidays and you call them like January 2nd, I guess that's the first day after the holidays, you're not booking until probably the 20th, right? So we're really working hard following up with people, even if you already met with someone. Maybe you had an open house. Maybe she already bought skincare from you this month or holiday gifts or whatever. I would call her up again and say, hey, it was really great meeting with you. I'm so glad that your teacher gifts, I could help you with your teacher gifts. I really appreciate you supporting my business and just always being so wonderful to me. I wanted to find a time for us to get together after the holidays. I thought it could be fun. You can invite your sisters. I'll give you a bunch of free stuff, whatever you're going to say. And then she's going to give you the holiday excuse. And then you say, oh, let's just think about it for 2 minutes. And they laugh at that. They think it's hilarious. I don't even think that's funny because I said it so much. It's not even funny anymore. I have to fake laugh. I'm so funny, but it works.
I love it. Well, and we talk about too, like sometimes all those people who say, call me in January, then you call them in January and they give you the same excuse, like, oh, I'm still so busy. Like it's just
Yeah.
like, yeah, so I love that.
Mhm.
Amanda, you had something.
Yeah, so first of all, will you marry me? Your attitude is awesome. I loved hearing you. We could be BFFs. But my question, and maybe I heard it wrong, is so as you were becoming a sales director, you were only doing 6 parties?
So from my the time I became a director, I became a consultant from November to November. That first 12 months, I held maybe 2 parties. And I still sort of got into my red jacket for like a second. And then November to February-ish, the beginning of February, I didn't hold any parties. And then November, I had my 2 active left, and I was like, I want to go into DIQ. And I hold a bunch of parties, got into DIQ March 1st, party, debut 3 months later. That's all it was. I wasn't consistent at all. I was probably the worst new director ever, but who cares? Because my unit was newer than I was. So they didn't know how bad I was. They didn't know that I'd never held parties consistently until DIQ. They thought I was great because they were ignorant. And then I learned as they learned, you only need to stay 1 step ahead. So if you are concerned that like, you don't even know how to be a director, you don't have to know much. They're newer than you are. They're dumb. And so, so you can be pretty dumb too.
Okay, thank you. And I do really like, and I think I needed to hear it because I'm a sales director with Emily, but the consistency, like how important it is where you can't take a month off because you think you were the worst sales director for your first year. Girl, I hit none of mine. Like I went to Vegas the month that I debuted. It was like, I'm just gonna roll with it now. No. So I think it was very important, and I was so glad to hear you say that because we all need a reminder of that in no matter what part of the business we want to be. So I really appreciate your talk. Like I love it so much.
Good. I'm
Thank
glad.
you.
You can always get back on the truck, right? So if you haven't been consistent, great, start now.
Yeah.
And then just stay there.
Deirdre, have you ever gotten a marriage proposal before in a meeting?
No, this is I'm blushing.
Oh my gosh, the 2 of you together would be so fun. Anyway, we have time for one last quick thing if anyone has anything. Otherwise, we'll let Deirdre go. If anyone has.
If nobody has anything, then I have one more tip. Men
go for it.
are losing their minds right now. Men are so terrified. And so this is what you say to men. Emily's probably already told you, she's probably already doing, but just in case. So this is how you manipulate men into buying Mary Kay from you right now, significant quantities of it. You say, hey, Jim, how you doing? Oh, good. Oh, I had a question. Are you done with Emily's shopping yet? So you just first of all put the fear of God in him because no, he's not done with her shopping. And you implied that he could be done. And could be done. No. So you're gonna be like, oh. And so then you say, and then before he can answer, while he's just the mustache sweats a starting, then you just say, because I have a few things I know she would really love if you wanted any help with her shopping. So you kind of put the knife in and then you pull it out and you throw him a bone. Now, let's say he says to you, yes, I'm good, actually. I got Emily a new vacuum cleaner. I don't know. I'm not obviously talking about you, Emily. Your husband's a lot better than this, but you know what I'm saying. Yeah, we're gonna go on a vacation. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so awesome. Where are you going? Oh, that's gonna be so fun. She's so lucky. So are you done with her stocking? Now what a buzzkill. You know what I'm saying? Because here he was feeling like a hero. And you remember that empty stocking with nothing in it. Because I have a few things that I think would help fill up our stocking if you still need a few things. And they're gonna say, how much? They don't say what's my wife gonna get. No one's ever asked me, what is my wife gonna get for Christmas? There's how much. Say, how big's the stocking? Right? So those are my tips for dudes.
I love that.
Easy
And for
prey
the
right
record,
now.
my husband bought me a pancake griddle once for my birthday, and I was like, no. He's been very good since then because no. So anyway, I love that. Oh my gosh, Deirdre, seriously, like I love, okay, so things I loved, you said freedom to solve your money problems. I love that. I didn't know about your youngest daughter, so that was really insightful, and we'll definitely keep her in your prayer, or keep
Thank
her in our
you.
prayers, which is really, it's just incredible what you've done with your business. And it's that consistency over time too. Like you never gave up and you never quit. And now because you never gave up and you never quit, you're enjoying top director trips and consistency and all of these things. So I love you even more. I'm so excited to go on a trip. Inquiring minds want to know, what is your team's goal this year?
So we want to go for prestige this year, 800,000. So last year we did 650. So that would be growth for us. And there's a lot of little bits along the way, like this person wants to go and become a director, and this person wants to wants to earn her diamond ring. And so we want to reach our unit goal, but we've got a lot of specific wins along the way that we want to reach. It's like kind of how it's paved. It's not just the number, it's the victories on route.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I love it. Oh my gosh, Deirdre, thank you so much for being on tonight. Let's give Deirdre a big woohoo. Yay.
Thank you so much for having me, ladies.
Yes, thank
I'm
you.
so impressed with your unit. I hope that you have a wonderful December and a wonderful holiday season and a Merry Christmas and all of that. And I really appreciate getting to know you.
Yeah, thank you.